me pull up the Chrome thing here. Oh. Oh, that's cool. I guess it's just gone. Okay. You ready, Shane?
I'm ready.
All right. So while I'm pulling this up, give me your first thoughts, brother.
Well, I got to tell you, the Ghosts of Illyria. I like the title, and it started out actually. I mean, overall, I really like the episode. I mean, we're 3 episodes in now, and I mean, we got a three-peat going on as far as I'm concerned of good Star Trek so far. So
Okay.
overall, I think the episode was really, really good. There was a lot of mystery. These Illyrians are apparently outcasts for genetic modification, which becomes this interesting theme, which I know we'll talk more about.
Right.
Now, for some reason, the civilization is nowhere to be found. They've just like disappeared on this planet. And we have instant mystery, which is exactly what we like in our Freak of the Week Star Trek stories.
Yeah. I love the way it started, actually, because as of right now, you're right. We don't know where the Illyrians, whatever, went. And by the end, we do get a pretty good theory from Spock, which we'll touch on.
Right.
No, so I gotta start off the episode by giving it an upvote. First off, the graphics are amazing, and the whole setup, and with the interesting planet where they're this advanced race that wanted to join the Federation, but they couldn't because they were genetically modified or just disappeared. Right there, that is as Star Trek as it gets from me. So instant upvote for me. I'm popping the upvote out. But I gotta warn you guys, there will be downvotes this episode. As much as I did like the episode, but there will be downvotes. Okay, so what we do, we get the crew's on the surface. They took a lot of people on the away mission this time because they gotta get everything and get out before an ion storm, overtakes them. And I found that really interesting because apparently the planet has ion storms frequently, like often. So they have these little short windows in which to gather data and get information. Sorry, I'm coughing. Well, so right here, this scene right here with the ensign or whatever it was that opened up the locker, and there's all these little beakers and all that.
Right.
The way they sort of hung out on that shot made me realize that, something bad was happening at that moment that we couldn't see.
Now, okay, so yeah, they've already beamed back up to the ship at this point.
No. So Una walks by and says, "Come on, ensign," or sorry, Pike, because Pike told them to beam out.
I see.
Because the storm's coming. But they hovered on this shot for a while of this ensign sort of just like messing with the bottles or whatever.
Which I'm not sure why, honestly, because as we'll come to find out, that really doesn't tie into anything, right?
It does. I think it was building tension.
Okay.
Now, okay, so interesting part. They can't beam out because are the ions in the ionosphere, ion storm? I don't know. The storm. And it was a very, really, really cool part where the Miles O'Brien character, what's his name? I forgot.
Oh, you mean we talked about this. You're not going to give me any zingers.
Yeah, I forgot his name. But
it's,
the transporter chief.
I'll give it to you right now.
So transporter chief is having a hard time locking on because of the storm. So he calls down to Hemmer. And here is another upvote. Right here. I'm going to upvote this moment because Hemmer says, first off, I love this guy's attitude. He's almost like he knows he's good, but he's also like, he's a cocky, but he's cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very hard to explain, but he's very chief engineer,
Chief Kyle is that guy's name, by the way.
Chief Kyle, thank you.
Give me the upvote too with Hemmer here, please, because and also just to point out, when Una gives the first officer's log, we had Uhura last week give the first officer's log. It was Pike the first week, Uhura, and now we've got the first number one. Una gives the thing, and if you notice, the person who gives the captain's log is the person the episode is going to be mostly about. So that's going to kick off things in the beginning to kind of give you that. But Hemmer we do get this wonderful, deep look into his character, and I absolutely loved him.
Yeah, Hammer's great. I love his attitude.
Cocky.
Yeah, I love when he goes, the chief, so he figures it out. He pulls systems from other systems or whatever, and they beam on the ship. And
let me give a thumbs up, or let me give one for this one too. You see what he does here? He actually, this is so wonderful. He actually, he did a he did a transfer of power, like he rerouted the power, right?
Right.
This is the first time in Star Trek that I ever recall them actually showing the crew seeing the rerouting of power to give power to another system.
Yeah, good point. You want to upvote for that?
Yeah, I want to upvote for that. It blinks in the passageway. They momentarily pause, look up, and then they continue on their business because it's just something that happens all the time. But we've never really seen it, so I thought that was really cool.
Oh, someone in the chat said that there was a particle of light in the turned over vial. That's why they hovered on that shot.
Oh,
I missed that. Nice
catch. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I love this. The transporter chief goes, "How did you do that?" And he goes, "I'm a genius." A really cool line.
That's how he rolls, right? But later on, they did something really. I won't clue you in now. But later on, they do something really cool that balances that. So
yeah. Well, they also make a major mistake with Hemmer later on, which we'll get into. All right, so Spock's now it's just Spock and Pike on the surface. He's going back to get Spock. Spock finds another journal or whatever. He's that they haven't read yet because they're trying to figure out what happened to people. Blah blah blah. So, boom, it's too late. They can't pull the same trick twice. The captain and Spock have to stay on the surface. Uh-oh.
I love this. Sorry to interrupt you. This is such classic Trek. It's always something with the beam up, something that happens during this process. I love the classic Trek music they use when they're beaming up number one and her crew. Like they use the classic Trek. It's hard to, the TOS music. It was themed out to make the drama was really enhanced during that moment.
Right.
To give you that typical, if you watch TOS, you see it in almost every time they have like drama on the transporter pads. They did it perfectly here. Yeah, so another vote up for me, please.
Okay. Vote up for Shane. Dork Knight says, somebody, that's my mother, Brian. What?
What?
Who was your...
Oh, his mom's here.
Oh, was that the person that said the particle of light? Oh, okay, cool.
Nice. Well, thank you.
Very cool. Thank you for that. All right, so they can't beam out. They can't get him. They gotta stay on the planet. Bummerooski, right?
Would you say Bummerooski?
Bummerooski. So they gotta go and they gotta get they gotta find shelter so they can wait out the storm. All right, now we got this shot of Una. She's coming down. She tells everything. Spock and Captain Pike are gonna be on the surface. Blah blah blah. Let's get to the good stuff. Okay, here's the good stuff. Ortega's walking through the hall and she sees this dude half naked, like zoning out on the light panel. And she asked him, "Hey man, you okay? What's going on with you, bud?" Oh my god, I went the wrong way. My bad, guys. What's going on with you, bud? And he gets real freaky with that light panel. Then he breaks it, and so she grabs him, takes him to sick bay. Now here is the money shot because Una is starting to have the similar symptoms, but she starts glowing red, and she's cured.
Oh, you can't say that now. We don't know that yet. That's not fair.
Or she's no longer experiencing the symptoms.
Okay, let's just say at this point, while I'm watching it, I'm going, oh my gosh, she's got it. Whatever, this alien advanced thing is inside of her and it's going to control her any second, just like classic Trek would do. But yeah, you do find out later she's not. So.
Okay.
Right? Didn't you have that moment? No. Oh, so at that moment you said, okay, cool, she's cured.
Well, she went from zoning out on the light to not zoning out on the light. I thought that was some kind of her body rejecting it or whatever.
Okay, so you did feel that it was being rejected.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're more advanced than I am.
All right. Well, so they go to sick bay. It looks like the entire landing party is suffering from this weird. What's up?
I got a downvote.
All right. What's the downvote?
Dr. Mbenga. I can't understand what he's saying. I had to turn on subtitles.
Oh, really?
I cannot understand what he's saying. I love the guy. I like the actor, but something in either his dialect of his pitch or something that's happening that's making it so I can't understand his words. I had to turn on the subtitles. I don't mind having subtitles on, but I thought it would be a downvote. I need to be able to clearly understand what the actor's saying.
That's fair. Yeah, there's actually gonna be a downvote for me in a few more scenes because of I don't think it's his fault actually, but I think he's being underused. But we'll get to that. All right, so there's this weird disease. And they love the light and they're addicted to light, and the crew has come down with it.
We gotta point out this thing here. I think this is actually a really good thing. Question of Trek brought it up, and it was Una ripping up her shirt made him feel all emoji face drooly.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest with you, when that started to happen, I kind of went, what's happening? What's about to happen right now? Look at she's going to rip her shirt off, right?
Okay. Yeah, girl.
Like, this is all different Star Trek here.
Yeah.
So that was great. Good Trek moment.
Good Trek moment. All right. Yeah. So they're trying to figure it out. So this is interesting. I like this. I like this part. I'm actually going to give it an info because Una goes to Hemmer and they're trying to figure out what the problem is. And I gotta say, I totally feel Hemmer here because I have been in this situation countless times where someone is asking me how to fix a problem that doesn't exist, and then they start running down the ways it could be, and I'm trying to explain, no, that's not how it works. No, it's perfect. It works perfectly. It's not my problem. I can't fix this problem. There's no problem to fix. And I've been there. Hemmer. I get it. You just turned
Hemmer into a Geek Squad employee, basically. Bro, who's at some guy's house, who's got dumb questions, and you're being condescending to that person because of whatever reason. Right?
Now, to be fair, the good part about this was it wasn't like Una was just asking random questions. He might be the guy, the professional there, but her questioning and her talking things out actually gets him to look at the transporters in sickbay later on. And it reminded me of you and I actually had a moment like this a few weeks ago. We were working on our day job. There's a product that has to be created, chemically, right? And in our relationship, I'm the chemist. So we create the product and it's fine. For a very long time, this product has been perfect. But for some reason, it wasn't doing the right, it wasn't outputting the same quality of merchandise. There was problems with it. And we couldn't figure out what it was. And I kept telling Shane, listen, man, it's definitely not the product. It's perfect. I've tested 87 times. It's perfect. And he would be like, well, what about this one? Well, no, it works. But he said something. I remember he said something. He's like, well, man, it must be something to do with the volume. And I don't even know if he was talking specifically about the volume of product. But when he said that, I immediately figured out what it was. And it wasn't the product, but it was the environment in which the product was sitting and how it was being used. And we figured out the problem. But I wouldn't have figured out that problem had Shane not been questioning me about the product in the first place. So, there's something to be said for talking things through. Even if you already in your head already know something's perfect or it works great, whatever, talking it through. Because her line of questioning gets him to sickbay.
Awesome. I'd like to also give an upvote here. I think you got a great point there. I want to give an upvote here because I love the mystery and intrigue that they're bringing to this episode, without distracting us or pulling us out, by the writers forcing some sort of message or narrative.
Right.
Watching Discovery and Picard, I always felt like we're getting going pretty good, and then we get sidelined by some sort of dialogue that takes us out of the story.
Right.
And they keep us really embedded into this. I mean, I could not take my eyes away. And I also want to give another upvote because I felt like when Una took over as the captain, she becomes the acting captain, they did a good job of really showing us how she is now in charge and she's giving directions to the bridge crew. She's actually, you could just feel that she naturally took over that captain's role responsibilities, which frankly speaking, hasn't been done for a long time. That was never done in Discovery, and I think that's critical to understanding for the ship, understanding what the chain of command is and who is actually in charge at that moment.
Right.
And she does an excellent job of. It's just really nice. It's small little comments, little things that just really make everything really nice. So another one for me there.
It's hard for Discovery to do that when they arbitrarily make people first officer. Like,
yes, that's
Tilly,
true.
you have been my friend for a long time, and I trust you.
You're now the first officer.
Would you like to be first officer? I know you're a cadet, but I would like you to be first officer.
She's an ensign, to be fair. She's an ensign.
Whatever. No, but she started off as a cadet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in season 1, she was a cadet. I would like the ensign, and I'll be first officer. And like, I can just imagine the bridge crew like, yo, what?
But they didn't say anything, so it's all good.
No, but they should have. All right. So Liana starts feeling the pain too. They take her to sickbay. Now here we're back at it. They're trying to figure it out.
Oh, so what we learn is that it's a severe drop in vitamin D.
Right.
And and of course that's tied to light. So
right. And the way they figured out that it's that the light is how it transfers. I'm just going to skip to this because. All right. Well, let's just talk about this real quick. Basically, what they're talking about here is they're talking about the previous inhabitants of the planet and how they wanted so badly to be part of the Federation that they were trying to reverse the modifications of their genome so that they can qualify to apply for membership to the Federation. Which I find
that's pretty intense.
But I gotta give it down vote.
Okay.
Because I understand that the Federation has a ban on genetically enhanced things because people and all that because the eugenic wars. However, is that ban retroactive? Like if a planet at any moment use genetic altering for their species, they just can't join the Federation? How does that make sense?
Well, I don't think in this time frame we really know, do we?
I don't know, but I gotta say, there's species in the future that the Klingons that use genetic altering to the point where like their entire species would look different for a generation. And
but that's
and we were simping trying to get them to join the Federation.
I mean, that's 100 years from now.
I see. So maybe something changes.
Yeah, they're working in a time frame where we don't really know the rules. They've brought listen, Star Trek is really doubling down on this genetic engineering thing with the eugenics wars. It's mentioned in this, and we're going to learn a little bit more about it here in a second. But the interesting thing about these Illyrians is this isn't the first time that we've seen them. Believe it or not, they were in an episode of Star Trek Enterprise, Damage. And it was an episode. It's a really interesting episode because they're actually a species who was also damaged along with the Enterprise. And Archer decides he's going to basically come out of character and he steals their warp coil. And boards their ship, steals their stuff, and now they're like stranded for like the next 3 years, so that he can go and try to get a hold of that bomb that's gonna kill people on Earth.
Oh, that's gangster, Archer.
So that species, the Illyrian, this is the only other time in Star Trek we've had it, and so I want to upvote this because Strange New Worlds went into this and said, okay, we're going to go find a species that we've seen before, but we don't know anything about. And we're going to bring them into Strange New Worlds. And this is a great opportunity to do this because we don't know anything about these people. All we know is that the Federation took, basically space pirated them and left them to die out in the middle of nowhere.
I like the idea of the Illyrians. And I like the idea that there's like obviously not very many of them left.
Okay. Right. Well, at least that one. So. Yeah. And also, can I get one more vote here, please?
Yeah.
Because they did show us, they showed us a graphic of a level 5 diagnostic scan on Hemmer's screen. And we've never seen that before. It's never been graphically done. But if you freeze it when he's talking to the first officer, it actually shows the whole level 5 diagnostic happening.
Oh, that's cool.
And I thought that was really awesome.
I don't know if it's worthy of an upvote, but that's cool.
I mean, listen, I think it's worthy. It's something that I've always been curious about seeing, and I got to see it.
It's your upvote. You can do whatever you want with it. Okay, Uhura wakes up. There's a lot of commotion in her cabin. And I gotta be honest, I gotta go back here. I'm giving an upvote for this because we have never seen the cadet cabins.
Oh, okay. So what, you just gave me a hard time about the level 5 diagnostic. Now you're giving an upvote because we've never seen this?
This is way cooler, dude. First off, I've wondered my entire life, does everyone on the Enterprise get their own sweet cabin?
Well, actually, that's true. Yeah, we only ever see the senior officers, really.
Right. We never see, and the answer to that question would be like, well, we got to assume maybe, because there's not enough room for every member to have their own cabin. So that's now we see the cadets, and they got these little almost like submarine bunks or whatever.
Well, and this is even cooler. I mean, like in the real Navy, the way it works is like the senior officers get their own stateroom. And then junior officers usually are 2 to 3 to a room, right? And then all of the enlisted folks have to sleep in giant 60-man berthing, basically, or women.
Right. Yeah, but this is really cool. So they have their own little beds and their own little lockers. So this guy's locker's on top, this guy's locker's on bottom. They can close them, and they have a little common area. It's very cool. It's
just like an aircraft carrier.
Super efficient design. And I gotta be honest. I wish I would have seen this when my kids were born. I would have made their entire room this way.
Short Knight makes a good point here. You do see that in lower decks.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Okay, so I gotta give a little downvote here. Actually, we'll get to that point. So at this moment, it's very odd. Hemmer is investigating M'Benga's transporter, and M'Benga is clearly upset about it for some reason.
Well, so I believed he had I thought he was sick at this point when he started acting weird like this. My thought was, oh well, the light got to him too, or whatever the heck's going on.
Yeah, and he also had this weird moment where he turned the lights back on, like undercover.
Right.
I don't know.
Which made me think, well, he must have already had it. Maybe that's what it was. I mean, he was obviously nervous about the transporter, which we'll find out about. But maybe he already was starting to feel the effects of the light.
Oh, and that's why he was on edge.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, so this is when, by the way, and we don't learn this now, but at this moment, Hemmer figures out what happened, pretty much. That the transporters weren't upgrades, the pattern filter, whatever, blah blah. All right.
But he doesn't know what's going on there.
No. M'Benga's mad. Get out of here, bro. Get out of here. Hey, get on in here. Yeah, they turn the light back on, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, here we go. We're coming to a really good part here. So, these Phoenix creatures are in the ion storm. They're like fire dragons or something. And they're flying around. And, of course, the very first thought for Pike and Spock is, they're clearly dangerous. We need to shut the door and not let them in.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. So they shut the door, and those things are now banging on the door. They want to get in, right?
Right.
And they're talking about it, blah, blah. And we're gonna come back to that moment. But it's a really good moment because at that moment, they are deathly afraid of these fire dragon thingies. And they're banging on there they're like, let me in. They're banging on the door. Like they're going to knock that door down, right?
Okay.
On the ship, they figure out the light's the problem. So they dim the lights and they put the ship on lockdown. And here is my downvote.
Okay.
I feel like this was a perfect moment for the blind engineer to shine.
Okay. Why?
He's trying to fix the problem. He's blind. They got to turn the lights out. Hello?
Okay.
He doesn't require the light. They could have shown some really cool moments with Hemmer. You know, being able to operate completely autonomously, even though no one else can see properly.
I mean, I think they already show. I mean, Hemmer is already basically a character that is playing above his talent level. I mean, I don't know how much more he needed to have his ego stroked in this episode. I mean, he's already, you know what I'm saying? Like he's already blind and doing stuff in the dark. So why do we need to see him do more things in the dark?
They made a point of saying we got to turn the lights out and lock down.
Right.
There was this moment where Hemmer looks at his crew or he gestures to him and goes, just like that. And they all just scatter. Like they know exactly what they want, which is cool. The lights should have gone out right there. And they should have had a panning, a camera panning on the lightly lit up eyes of Hemmer as he continued working in pitch black. That would have been sick. It would have been 4 or 5 seconds. And it would have just totally reassured the audience of what this guy's capable of.
All right. I mean, I didn't feel it was necessary, but if it would have added coolness to you, then that's cool.
Consider that, right? He snaps his fingers, he gestures, his crew all disperses because it's locked down. The lights turn out, and we see the
light. It wasn't pitch black, though. I mean, it's like
it should have been. That engineer should have been pitch black at that moment.
It can't be,
he doesn't move.
You can't be pitch black across the entire ship. There
are
still
just
people who need to work.
Just engineering.
So why do they need to shut the lights out completely in engineering?
Because
so that we can have this great moment where he can do things in the dark.
Lights, and they want to turn the lights out.
But what I'm saying is they don't go, completely dark throughout the entire ship where there are no lights. I was trying to
save another downvote because it was also additionally it wasn't dark enough. It was too light in there.
All right, I don't know.
If the purpose of turning the lights down is to slow the spread, you can turn them down a lot more.
I don't know. I think that's like very. How do you determine when you're making a TV show how low the light should be or up or down? That's kind of not really something that's possible to direct. And I don't know. I feel like Hemmer is already like he's blind. Just because it's dark doesn't mean. I mean, I don't know. This is my opinion. So you got yours. I got mine. The one thing I do want to say. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I do want to say about the level 5 lockdown is that it definitely reminded me of COVID. And they talked about contact tracing. And so, they were making this in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
Like this was being filmed and created at that time. And it totally reminded me of that. It's not an upvote or a downvote, but it definitely had that flavor of what was going on.
Right. All right. This is actually when they figured out about the lights. So I was a little ahead of myself, but regardless. All right. Moving forward. All right. The contagion travels on light. And then this is how they explain how viruses work. And this virus is very unique because it works on light. Okay.
I really like that, by the way. The explanation,
right?
The science, the way they use terms that we could actually understand, how a cold replicates itself to get other people sick, but the light doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. And it was really good.
Yeah. Yeah. And she asked, would it be too intrusive to sedate them all? I wouldn't have asked that question. I would have been like, sedate all of them. That was like, that was a little 2022 Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay if it's a little bit. That's cool.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. Okay, let's just say real Navy. They're not just going to make this arbitrary thing to knock out everybody on the ship to do something without questioning it. So it's not that it's that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is when we figure out that she, what she is. So apparently.
So I'm sorry. We missed the part. I must have skipped through the part where her and La'an talk about the eugenics war and La'an's angry.
Yeah. I glossed over it. It was when they're in the mess hall.
Okay. So that's a very interesting point because up until now, we didn't know what La'an's connection with Khan is. It's the first time Khan's actually mentioned in the show.
Right.
And so what we learn is there's no hidden relationship between her and Khan, like a lot of us feared before Strange New Worlds thought. We're like, oh my God, she's connected to Khan. How could, Spock not know with La'an on board? So we had all these concerns. And we learn in this episode that she's not directly connected to him and actually despises him to some level.
You know what? Good point. I'm going to give that an upvote. Because
I think that deserves an upvote too.
Yeah. You want an upvote too? All right.
Yeah, give it to me. Yeah.
All right. yeah, no, that was great. And yeah, here we are. The Illyrian genetic data. We're figuring out that she is. We already knew she was special, but apparently she's actually from that planet, which is very cool.
That's huge because up until now in Star Trek lore, number one was human as far as we were concerned. When you go back to the pilot episode of TOS,
the cage,
it's a human woman.
Right.
And so the whole time you see it. Now, the other thing that's interesting is that the Illyrians in Enterprise had ridges on their forehead. So now we don't know if there's different features or whether or not they've genetically altered themselves over the last 100 years or so, 80 years, to change that they look more human. And did they do that so that they could join the Federation, or were they trying to emulate, humanoids from Earth?
Yeah, maybe because they say that they really want to join the Federation. I can see them, changing their maybe before they start, trying to reverse the changes. Maybe they try to look more like us or whatever.
Yeah, and the fact that they're willing to go to that level to change and modify their genome to join the Federation really tells you a lot about where the Federation is right now and how important it is to the Alpha Quadrant.
Right.
Which is not something we really get a sense of in TOS is really how important the Federation is to what's going on.
Right. Okay. All right. So she comes in the transporter room, and Hemmer is clearly sick. He's freaking out. He's trying to transport a piece of the core of the planet into the ship.
This was fantastic.
Yeah, this is good.
This was good. I want to give another upvote here, because Hemmer up until this point can do no wrong. He can do no wrong. He's perfect in every way. He's cocky. He's self-confident. I love the character. But here we see that he still there's some fallibility to him. He was able to contract, even though he's blind, he was able to contract this light disease, right? And he's being shown in some sort of a negative light, which I wasn't sure they were going to do. And I got to give him a lot of credit, because this character kind of needed to be brought down a peg in order to feel some connection with him.
Right. I agree. And I think on that same note, they're also still showcasing his skill, because he is about to transport a piece of the core of the planet into the ship.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. All right. She stuns him and then casually carries him or whatever.
Oh, that was awesome. I absolutely love that. It showed her genetic. That showed her. I mean, I'm not going to upvote this crazily, but it showed her genetic alteration.
Yeah, and when she gets to sickbay, Chapel even says, "How are you carrying him?"
Right. And what have we been saying about Star Trek? Show us, don't tell us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's a show.
All right, back on the planet, Pike and Spock are trying to figure out what to do about the crazy Phoenix Dragon fire things that are trying to get through the door. Like, they really want to get in that door. Like, they want to get in there.
I know you're building that up, and I got the antithesis, I think, of what you're going to say.
Right. They really want to get in there. In fact, they even said, "Do you think the Illyrians knew how to stop these things?" Which is good. Little misdirection. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. And they're he's reading about. All right. So the door opens, the window breaks, the ion storm's coming in.
Wait. Before you do that, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
See, this is the funny thing about doing this review. It's hard sometimes because you go through it and you'll pass something I want to talk about before it gets there.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to come up with like a way to be like, point of note. When Pike is pointing his firearm, his phaser at the door, and Spock has the stuff he's reading. Spock says, I hope that thing, you can set it to stun or something like that, right? And Spock goes, "I'm arming us with knowledge." And I just loved it. I love that line. Such a Spock thing to say. Such a TOS, that would be a TOS Spock thing he would say.
Yeah, I agree.
So upvote me on that.
You want to upvote? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, come on. When we're doing good stuff, we got to talk good stuff.
All right. I'm not trying to hand out upvotes like they're candy. It's got to be something cool,
That wasn't cool that he did something.
That was cool, but it wasn't upvote cool, you know.
All right.
Anyways, listen, they also mentioned that at this point, the radiation level outside is toxic to humans, right?
Yes.
Or fatal. And those things, they break in, and they start surrounding them, and the window breaks. And
wait. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and show it because I got to talk about that part.
Yeah.
So window they grab him by the arm here.
Yeah.
Right? They get the thing grabs him by the arm. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
Pulls his phaser to the side. I hear what seems to be like something shooting. So I want to give a downvote here. Okay. It's almost, to me, it sounded like a bullet shot. And then something ricocheted is what it sounded like to me. And then glass broke. Okay. Now we know it's a phaser. There's no bullets coming out of a phaser.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I thought it was like
I played it back 3 or 4 times to get it.
I thought it was like rocks outside hitting the window or something.
I understand, but it was confusing. Okay, because the weapon, it happened the moment the weapon turned towards the wall. I hear some sort of sound of ricochet, and I couldn't tell was something that happened in that interaction. Did that break the glass, or did something outside break the glass? Now we know something outside broke the glass.
Right.
We would find out, but
it broke inwards.
It was confusing at that moment to me.
Okay.
Like I wasn't sure what was exactly happening, and I felt like that was.
So you want a downvote?
I should. Yeah, that should have given it a downvote.
All right. No, this is really cool. They hit the floor. They start hugging it out like bros. They're like, "Oh, that's it, we're out." And the Phoenix Dragon things surround them. And I love this, and I'm giving it an upvote because like this is so Star Trek. Listen. The whole time, those things were misunderstood. They weren't trying to get in there to kill Captain Pike and Spock. They were trying to get in there to protect Captain Pike and Spock. They knew what was coming.
They were going to die if they didn't get in there to protect him.
Right, and they were locking the door, aiming their phasers. They were in there because their ignorance. That's what he said. I'm arming us with knowledge. Because their ignorance, you know, they were fighting their saviors. Very cool. Right. That they're not just like random monsters of the week, but they were actually there to help, right?
Yeah. And then I guess later on we find out who they probably really are.
Right. Yeah. Spock does say later on that they probably contract the same disease. And this is really good, so I want to give this an up. But because they were reversing their genetic modification in order to join the Starfleet, they could no longer combat the light disease that was native to that planet.
Yeah.
So in their quest to join the Federation, they ended up all getting sick, and instead, but not all of them died. Some of them chased the ions into the atmosphere, and their unique physiology apparently they were converted to whatever those things are. That's fascinating.
And I kind of got the feeling that something was going on like that it was some sort of beings up there. When you saw Una's, that fire burn through her, mm-hmm. and you're like, oh, that looks awfully familiar.
Yeah, I just think it's very cool that they're there to figure out what happened to these Illyrians, and they find out by the end of the episode that the Illyrians basically, literally killed themselves trying to please the Federation.
Yeah, that's basically what you find out. Yeah,
and it's a sad tale. But then additionally, those same creatures, now that they're basically this non-corporeal thing, still protect them inside. I just think that's very cool. Very, very Star Trek. You know, not every alien has to be a bad guy, guys.
That's a really good point. Stop when you get to the point where Mbenga gives his speech about bigotry.
Where is that? Here? When he's talking about
it's coming, I think. Or maybe it's now. I can't remember.
I think it's now when they're talking about the Illyrians.
Okay, so yeah, they're talking about it now. So is this where she admits she's an Illyrian?
Yeah, Illyrian? She tells them that she's Illyrian and that
okay.
Can they use her blood to make a cure? And then she even says, I know there's a rule against mixing human with Illyrian blood. And I like what Chapel says. She goes, I can care less.
Right.
I'm just trying to, like, they're doctors. The rules aren't important when their primary oath is to do no harm, right?
Right, yeah. True.
So I do like that because that is exactly what something like Bones would have said, Phlox would have said, you know.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true. Bones would have been like, it doesn't matter, just take care of them.
Right.
So here he's given the speech here. First off, I love the science. I love the explanations. I love him explaining why he can't use her blood. Like, come on. I mean, how Trek is that?
Right.
Right. They're answering our questions. They're staying in the science. It's doing really good. And then there's an interesting little turn. And I'm going to give a downvote here. The downvote is kind of the show us, don't tell us thing. And they start talking about how the Federation, somehow defeated bigotry, right? Or Earth defeated bigotry. And now here they are. They found another way to be bigots in space.
Well,
basically.
You know how they defeated bigotry. They all got electric cars. That's what it took.
That's the answer. That's it. Nice call.
You have to get electric cars that are powered by your farts, and bigotry will go bye-bye.
So I just thought that it really wasn't very fair to call it bigotry. And I'll tell you why. Because the reason why the Federation is fearful over genetics is because Khan almost took over everything being an augment. Right. Basically almost took over everything and conquered Earth, right?
Right.
And so the Federation isn't bigoted against people who genetically altered. They don't hate them. And we got to remember what bigotry is, right? Bigotry is hating something for simply because they exist.
Right, because they're different.
Right. And that's not what's happening here. They are fearful over genetic alterations, somebody being able to basically genetically alter themselves in such a way that that makes them more powerful and uncontrollable, I guess, to some degree.
Right.
And so I thought that use of the word bigotry was not appropriate or kind of correct in this situation. They're not being treated that way because of their race or because of who they are. They're being treated that way for the acts that they have committed. And I just think those are two different things. So that's why I got a downvote for me.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I don't think it's bigotry because of who they are. I think they're just trying to be careful and not repeat history.
Yes, and which was a reasonable explanation, and I guess we'll talk about the end part of it.
Right. All right. Yeah. So it explains can't use your antibodies because they're only active when they're healing you. Blah, blah, blah. Perhaps if there was a moment where you were infected and before you settled, which they pay off this. They pay off the way they could fix the crew.
Yeah.
But it would have to be that she was infected at the same time.
Well, and if he hadn't said that, then she wouldn't have known what to do next.
Right.
And this is more teamwork working together.
Right. I agree. All right. And he lays down. He's like, all right, man, listen, I'm gonna take a nap because this ain't working out.
I'm out.
I found it interesting that he just sat down and took a nap.
Well, he told her because he's being overwhelmed by the disease.
Right. I went way too far back. My bad. All right.
Can we get to the chick fight?
Yeah, I'm trying to get there right now. I clearly hit the wrong button. All right. So Leon heard her talking about being an Illyrian, and she. Now, why did she wake up and no one else?
Because I don't know, man. She's got that weird pain tolerance thing going on.
Right.
So she woke up and heard what Una said, and got mad.
Right. I think that was actually a little bit of a clue there.
I think so.
I think she might be slightly augmented herself, even if it was just via birth.
Yeah, I think it's got to be that way, but she sure feels crazy about it, as we're about to learn here.
Right. Yeah, and so she's trying to detonate the warp core, or take down the warp core containment field, or whatever.
Warp core breach, baby.
Because she wants to feel the heat on her skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, they start fighting. Good chick fight. Love it. It was a good fight in general. It wasn't just because of their chicks. It was good. Yeah,
no, it was good. They were going at it. And what's interesting is, before you leave that part there, so basically, yeah, Una has this moment where they get a bunch of radiation, and her internal genetics try to basically cure it at that moment as she's getting the radiation. And so now she's able to cure herself and apparently La'an, and at the same time get a sample to be able to use, or no, Chapel will later get a sample because it hasn't hardened yet or gone away.
Right. Which is cool. Which is super cool.
But she also tells her in that moment, remember, she said some pretty, basically that she lied to her all this time by not telling her. She La'an hates augments. She grew up being, bullied basically for being related to Khan and the augments. And so she's always hated augments. And here it is this whole time, essentially Una's been an augment and never told her, even though she understood the pain that she went through. So she was pretty hurt by this. I thought it was pretty good, deep character building.
Yeah, I feel like she shouldn't have been that mad. She should have been like, I get it though. You're not gonna just tell everyone you're an Illyrian. Make me feel better, considering you want to stay in Starfleet and it's against the rules.
Right.
I mean, but that's just me, I guess. All right. So this is when they explain how they went through all this trouble to save them. And you see and Spock says, I see two possibilities. Either they didn't save the colonists because they had some kind of falling out with the colonists, or because they are the colonists. And he literally takes the only two options it could be, and the logical conclusion from there is they are the colonists.
Yeah, great line for Spock.
Yeah.
I got to give you, Anthony, I got to give Ethan Peck a lot of credit. I mean, Spock in this episode is Spock. I mean, we've been prepared to really address the whole emotional Spock thing. We've been talking about doing videos about it. But to be honest with you, I'm not even certain he's been unreasonably emotional in the first 3 episodes. And he seems to have been a really nice precursor up till now of the Spock that's to come, at least so far.
Right. I completely agree. He's, as someone who was his very large critic of him in Discovery and in general, he's doing phenomenally this season so far. All right. Yeah, so they explain they want to join the Federation, so they tried to reverse their engineering, and that's what killed them. Boom, bing, bada, boom. Okay. And this is when they explain what Chapel did, because she's so good at her job. She replicates the cure based on the chimeric antibodies.
Yeah. Hey, Nurse Chapel, let somebody else say how good you are, okay?
Yeah.
We already have a Hemmer. We don't need another one.
I mean, she is very attractive, so.
So that makes it okay, as opposed to somebody else.
You know what? I'm giving her an upvote just for being hot, right there.
You're giving her a cocky upvote, okay.
Okay, yeah, and then she comes and talks to Leon. They're eating strawberries. You got anything to say about this scene? I'm just going to skip past it.
I mean, yeah, I just want to say that they really are close, because the way they talk to each other, I mean, this is, lieutenant to a commander, and she just basically puts it out there. Yeah, you want to, basically you want to know if it was the sickness talking or if it was me. And she's like, both. So she still told her, how she felt. And
okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
More growth.
All right. We're gonna skip past this. We're gonna skip. All right. What do I think about this scene where she's like, "Listen, Captain, I've broken the rules. I'm gonna resign my commission." He's like, "Nah."
Very Starfleet. I love that. I love that she took ownership of it. She basically said, "You know what? I'm coming clean." It's just such a Starfleet thing to do. And Pike saying, "Nah," is another Starfleet thing to do.
Yeah, it's a Starfleet captain thing to do for sure.
It's definitely something he would do. And he basically said, let me deal with Starfleet. And this does need to be addressed at some point later. It has to be an episode or something where we possibly maybe lose her because of this choice. So I hope we get that down the road, and I hope it pays off. But this is something that other Star Trek captains would do. Maybe not Picard, but all the other ones for sure.
Because you're right.
Maybe not
Accept
Janeway.
your resignation. Please see the closest airlock and just jettison yourself into space.
But I do have a downvote here. So I would definitely give this a downvote.
Okay.
Because you cannot have two major character Starfleet broken rules in one episode.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm actually going to give it a downvote too, not for that reason, for a completely separate reason.
Okay, well, let me finish mine and then you tell.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you were right. Go ahead.
So yeah, so I mean, honestly, we just saw literally the scene before. Una's basically like, "Hey, I've done bad things. I'm in Starfleet. I shouldn't have done it. I'm going to get in a whole lot of trouble." And then Pike says no. And then she comes down here and basically confronts M'Benga and says, "You've done bad things. When, by the way, endangering the ship. Holy cow!" Right? I just feel like they should only give us one of these an episode. If you're going to do something against the Federation or breaking Starfleet regulations and rules, you should only do that once per episode.
Well, I think they were trying to show her that she paid that kindness forward.
Do it next episode. I don't need it right now. We haven't had enough time to deal with one. Now we've got to deal with two. I just felt that it wasn't appropriate.
That's fair. Now, my problem with this is that the reason they had the problem is because last time they were at dock, he wouldn't let them upgrade his transporter. So all the other transporters are upgraded, but his wasn't. So that's like you live in a house and your wife and your kids and your roommate, they have Windows 10, fully updated, fully protected. But your dumb brother-in-law keeps coming over with an old laptop running Windows XP, and it's just ridden with viruses, literally.
I love Windows XP, though.
And because it's never been updated. So now, why didn't he want to update it? This was the reason I upvoted, because his daughter, who is sick, and I feel him. I got a sick daughter, too. Is in the pattern buffer and he's trying to keep her alive. Totally get it. But when it shows later on that he frequently takes her out of the pattern buffer to read her bedtime stories or whatever, that don't make no sense. Right? Why don't you just take her out of the transporter, update him, and put her back?
Update what?
So when they were at the station last time, he wouldn't let them update the transporters because her pattern was in the buffer.
It probably was one of those things where they showed up and said, "Hey, we need to upgrade your blah blah blah," and he's like, "No," because he would have had to show what he was doing, which was wrong and illegal, I guess. So maybe that was why he couldn't do it at that moment.
There's got to be a way around.
Because that makes sense.
You're going for a refit. What they're gonna do.
I mean, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. They didn't explain it. I'm willing to give him that pass. For that reason, I don't need the detailed explanation of how they replace something in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, I feel like he could have taken her out of the pattern, and maybe when you show her out of the pattern, only show that last really good scene and don't show the scene before it, because it makes me believe that she's been out of the pattern for a long time, which makes me believe this didn't have to be an issue.
You're talking about when they're reading the bedtime story?
Yeah, so he takes her out of the pattern and he's reading her this book, like a real book.
Yeah.
And they shoot over to, I'll show you. Oh my God, I went the wrong way. They shoot over to Una, and she's like, So he rematerializes her and he starts reading this big blank book. And then they shoot over to Una and she's doing a personal log, which by the way, she later on deletes. Very good.
Which was good.
Very good detail there. And then they had this really cool transition. Ready? I mean, as an editor, this was a great transition. Just watch it. Look at this.
Oh, it was a good sweep. Yeah.
Clean transition, right?
Yeah, that was good.
And he's finishing that book. How long has it been sitting there for, man? Seemingly a long time, which means that he could have taken her out of the buffer during the refit.
But you don't know the situation, and so you have to assume that he was caught off guard or it wasn't planned, or you know what I'm saying?
But that also, so if that's the case, then that cheapens the character and makes it look like he can't think things through.
No, you don't know how a starship works. He's not, he's worried about medical stuff. He's not worried about, engineering types things. And when you're on a ship like that and people show up all the time. Hey, it's time to update your fire hydrants. And you're like, oh, shoot. Okay.
All right.
All right.
I mean, I wouldn't
so you
would know.
Well, I'm just saying in that situation, he's not in charge of whether his stuff's getting upgraded. So if they showed up, and I'm giving a plausible story, right? A reason. Now, if there was no plausible or decent reason why he could have, then yeah, you're right. He should have pulled her out and updated it. Now they don't have a story for episode 3, but
right,
or whatever. But here's why I gave this an upvote. It was because it was a call out. This was a call out to Voyager with Scotty being in the pattern buffer for all that time.
You mean TNG?
Remember? No, it was Voyager when that found Scotty.
No, it wasn't.
Was it TNG?
It was TNG, yeah. It's my favorite episode, man.
Well, you're right. Duh, you're right. Okay.
That's the episode where Scotty tells Geordi how to deal with with leadership.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So anyways, the point is that this was a callback to that, because keeping somebody in the pattern buffer is something that hasn't been done a whole lot. And I just thought it was a nice, way of showing that that's something that they could even do even before that other time.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And
so did you give him my up?
You want up for that?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
I think it's very cool that she's giving him a power cell. We'll probably see that paid off at some point in the future. Hopefully, if it's not paid off, then I'm not sure why they did it, but I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
All right. And
I got one more. At the end with Una.
Okay.
So I thought that even though M'Benga did the whole bigotry thing and that kind of messed things up, I think it fixed it here at the end with Una when she's giving her log.
Right.
Because basically the way Star Trek always did it was they showed things that were a problem on current times through aliens and alien interaction. And I thought they did a good job of using aliens and using her as an Illyrian to point out a problem, whether it's bigotry or something else, as opposed to just M'Benga speaking about it. So because she was an alien, it made more sense. They did the traditional Trek, let's do it through an alien civilization as opposed to, just saying it or pointing it out.
Yeah, that's fair. That you're right. All right. And that's the end of the show. So, reviewing the score, Shane has a very optimistic 7. I have a very realistic 5.
Whoa, wait a second. I'm sorry. How is your 5 realistic when 0 would be neutral?
All right. So, I have a 5. Shane has a 7. The average is once again a 6.
Was it 6 last time?
It was a 6 last time, exactly.
Interesting. Well, this is a good sign because, I guess it would be cool if we knew how many times we upvoted and downvoted. But at the same time, we're not down to 0, guys. And if we were down around 0 or just maybe at 1 or -1, then we would know that this was not great Star Trek. And so far, it's been great Star Trek.
Let me tell you something. Stick around. When Discovery comes out and we're reviewing it, we're going to see some negative numbers, bros.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I'm not even trying to speak it into existence or be negative. I'm telling you, the last 2 seasons, there was between the entire season, there was maybe 2 good things in an entire season of television. So,
well, maybe season 5 will be great.
Maybe it will. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe he won't hit me anymore.
Maybe season 5. Yeah.
That's fair.